The ship was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan opened his eyes and found himself lying on a hard metal floor. The room was dark, except for a faint blue glow pulsing from the walls. His head hurt, his chest ached, and the taste of smoke still burned in his throat. He tried to remember what had happened. The last thing he knew, his shuttle had been falling through the storm clouds of an alien world. After that, nothing but black. Now he was here. But where was here? He pushed himself up, leaning against the wall. The blue light grew brighter, then dimmer again, as if the ship was breathing. The air was heavy with a strange smell, sharp and wild, like wet fur after a storm. His heartbeat quickened. This was not his ship. The sound came next, soft claws clicking against metal. Ethan froze. Something was moving in the corridor outside. The sound grew louder, closer, until it stopped right outside the door. The door slid open with a hiss. A figure stepped in. She was tall, with fur the color of silver ash. Her eyes glowed gold in the dim light, sharp and watchful. Her body was strong like a predator's, but her movements were calm, almost graceful. She was not human. She was one of them. The wolf-like aliens he had seen only once before during the fragile peace meeting that ended in disaster. The alien female stood in silence, staring at him. Ethan's throat went dry. He wanted to speak, but no words came. Finally, she stepped closer. Her voice was low, almost a growl, but her words were clear. "You, human." She paused, then said something that froze his blood. "You got me pregnant?" Ethan blinked, sure he had misheard. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His mind raced. Pregnant with him? That was impossible. Completely impossible. The alien's golden eyes narrowed. She touched her stomach with one clawed hand. "Now," she said, "we are having puppies." Ethan shook his head. His voice cracked. "That's not possible. That can't be possible." But deep inside, a memory stirred. He remembered the ritual. On the day of the peace meeting, her people had demanded a bond. A cut on the hand, blood shared between species. It was supposed to be only a gesture, a sign of trust. But the alien priests had chanted in strange voices, words he did not understand. The memory was faint, but it returned now with frightening clarity. The alien female took another step toward him. "It is possible. It has already begun." Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. He tried to stand, but his legs shook beneath him. The wall seemed to close in. He looked at her again, at the way her golden eyes burned, at the strange mixture of anger and fear in her face. He wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, to call her insane. But then he saw something that made his breath catch. Her stomach was glowing faintly beneath the fur, a soft blue light that pulsed with the same rhythm as the walls of the ship. Ethan staggered back. "No, this isn't real. This is some kind of trick." The alien tilted her head, watching him carefully. "No trick. Our blood mixed. Our bond is real. You cannot run from this, human." The silence between them was heavy, broken only by the low hum of the ship. Ethan's mind spun with questions. If she was telling the truth, what did it mean? What kind of children could come from a human and an alien? And why did she look so certain, so unshaken, while he felt his whole world slipping out from under him? Before he could speak again, the ship shuddered. A deep rumble echoed through the walls, and the blue lights flickered wildly. Somewhere in the distance, a loud roar tore through the silence, not mechanical but alive. An alien voice, angry and fierce. The female's ears twitched. She turned her head toward the sound, then looked back at Ethan. "They know," she said quietly. "They will come for us." Ethan swallowed hard. "Who will?" She bared her teeth, not in a smile, but in warning. "My people." The ship shook again, harder this time. Ethan stumbled and caught himself against the wall. Fear twisted in his chest. If her people were coming, and if they believed what she said was true, then he was in more danger than he had ever known. The alien female stepped closer, close enough that he could see the faint glow in her eyes, the rise and fall of her breath. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You cannot escape. You are part of this now." Ethan stared at her, heart pounding, his mind screaming with disbelief and terror. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, to run, but he could do none of those things. Because in that moment he realized one terrible truth. She believed every word she said, and deep down, part of him feared she might be right. The walls trembled again. The roar outside grew louder, and Ethan knew this was only the beginning, the explanation. The ship was still shaking when Ethan followed the alien female down a narrow passage. The walls pulsed with blue light, alive like veins under skin. His steps were unsteady, but fear pushed him forward. He wanted to demand answers. He wanted to shout, but his voice caught in his throat. Every time he looked at her, her glowing eyes, her silver fur, her calm but heavy breathing, his mind returned to her words. Pregnant. Puppies. Human blood mixed. It was madness. And yet the glowing mark on her stomach was real. They reached a chamber shaped like a circle. Strange markings covered the floor, lines that twisted like rivers. In the center, a tall crystal pulsed with light. The alien female placed her hand on it, and the walls of the room shifted. Images appeared in the air, ghostly pictures of her people, the wolf-like creatures Ethan had seen before. Ethan stared, his fear battling with curiosity. "This is our memory hall," she said. "You must understand what you have done." "I didn't do anything," Ethan snapped. His voice echoed in the chamber. "I don't even know you. I didn't—" He stopped himself, words breaking under the weight of confusion. The alien turned her golden eyes to him. "Not knowing does not free you. Blood is stronger than choice." The images changed. Ethan saw two figures, one human, one alien, standing across from each other. They each cut their palms, letting drops of blood fall onto the ground. The blood glowed when it touched. It spread like fire through the lines on the floor. His chest tightened. He remembered. The peace meeting. The ritual. "That wasn't meant to do this," he said, his voice quieter now. "It was a gesture. A tradition. Your people said it was symbolic." The alien's ears flicked back. "To us, nothing is only symbolic. Blood carries life. Blood carries future." Ethan shook his head. "Even if that's true, it doesn't mean this. Humans and your kind. We're not even the same species." She looked down at her stomach. The faint glow pulsed stronger now, as if responding to her touch. "Yet it has happened. Already they grow. Not children. Not wolves. Something new." Her words sank deep into him, heavier than stone. He wanted to deny it, but the evidence shone right in front of his eyes. "Why me?" he asked finally, his voice rough. "Why would this happen with me?" The alien turned back to the crystal. Another image formed, this time of a sky filled with fire. Ships burning, creatures fleeing, a war, a dying world. "My people are fading," she said softly. "Each season fewer pups are born. Each season more sickness takes us. Our priests believed a bond with another race might save us. They searched for a people strong in spirit. They found humans." Ethan felt cold. "So the ritual, it wasn't just peace. It was a test," she nodded slowly. "And it worked. You are the key." He let out a sharp laugh, but there was no humor in it. "I didn't sign up to be anyone's savior, or father. Especially not like this." The alien's golden eyes softened just for a moment. "You think I asked for this? You think I wanted a human bond? I am as trapped as you." Her voice cracked with the last word, and Ethan felt a strange twist in his chest. For the first time, he saw more than the predator's face. He saw fear. The ship shuddered again, and the crystal dimmed. The images vanished, leaving them in silence. From the hallways came the echo of distant voices, growling, shouting in the alien tongue. The female's ears twitched. She looked toward the sound, her body tense. "They are close," she whispered. "The others will not accept this bond. They fear what it means. They will try to end it." Ethan's stomach dropped. "End it, you mean?" She touched her glowing stomach again. "They will try to end them." For a long moment, neither spoke. The weight of her words hung in the air like a storm. Ethan rubbed his temples, trying to think. Everything was happening too fast. He was just a pilot, a man who had wanted to explore the stars. Now he was trapped in some ancient prophecy, tied to an alien he barely knew, and accused of fathering creatures that shouldn't even exist. He looked at her again. She stood tall, shoulders squared, ready to fight if she had to. But her eyes held a question, a plea she would not speak. "Why tell me all this?" Ethan asked. "Why not let your people handle it?" "Because you are part of it," she said simply. "Without you, there is no future. Without you, I cannot protect them." The voices in the distance grew louder. Shadows flickered against the walls outside the chamber. Ethan's pulse raced. He didn't trust her. He didn't even understand her. But one thing was clear. If her people were coming, he had no allies but her. The alien female stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper, urgent and sharp. You must choose, human. Stand with me, or fall with them. The chamber shook as the door began to open. Light spilled in and dark figures filled the doorway, growling and armed. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The time for questions was over. The storm was here, the conflict, the chamber door slammed open. Shadows stretched across the glowing floor as 3 aliens stepped inside. Their fur bristled, their golden eyes burned, and their hands held weapons shaped like curved blades. Growls echoed low in their throats. Ethan froze where he stood, his back pressed against the crystal, the faint hum of its energy vibrating through him. His heart pounded so hard it almost drowned out the sounds of the intruders. The female moved in front of him, her shoulders tense, claws half raised. Her voice dropped to a growl of her own. Stay behind me. One of the armed aliens, larger than the rest, pointed his blade toward her stomach. His voice was sharp, full of contempt. The bond is poison. End it before it spreads. Ethan didn't understand every word, but the tone was clear enough. He glanced at her, then at the blade, then at the glowing light under her fur. His stomach knotted. The female bared her teeth. No, she said, her voice low but firm. I will not. The other aliens growled louder, circling her like predators around prey. The leader's gaze shifted to Ethan, narrowing in disgust. He spat the word like it was filth. Human. Ethan's body stiffened. He didn't need a translator to know what the alien wanted. Him gone, erased, forgotten. His legs begged him to run, but there was nowhere to go. The chamber door was blocked, and these creatures were faster than him. The leader stepped closer. You break our law. You bring corruption. We end this now. Before Ethan could react, the female lunged. Her claws met the alien's blade with a shriek of metal. Sparks burst in the dim light. The two crashed against each other, locked in fury. Ethan stumbled back, nearly tripping over the crystal base. The other 2 aliens moved forward, blades raised. He had nothing, no weapon, no armor, only his fists and fear. One alien swung at him. Ethan ducked by instinct, the blade slicing the air above his head. His breath caught in his throat. He grabbed a loose metal rod lying near the wall, maybe part of the broken chamber, and swung it wildly. The rod clanged against the alien's arm, making the creature snarl. The second alien rushed him. Ethan blocked with the rod, but the force sent him crashing to the ground. The weapon flew from his hands. He looked up. The alien loomed over him, blade raised high. Before the strike could fall, a roar split the chamber. The female had thrown her attacker to the ground and now launched herself at the one over Ethan. Her claws raked across its chest, sending sparks of blue blood spraying. The alien howled in pain and staggered back. Ethan scrambled to his feet, his chest heaving. The leader snarled, his eyes locked on the female. You betray your pack. She stood tall, her glowing stomach rising and falling with each breath. I protect my future. The leader's gaze shifted once more to Ethan. Hatred burned there, pure and sharp. You, he spat. This is your doing. You will not leave this ship alive. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to deny it, to shout that it wasn't his fault, that he never asked for any of this. But the words wouldn't come, because deep down some part of him knew the alien wasn't entirely wrong. The fight grew tense, claws and blades striking, echoing through the chamber like thunder. Ethan tried to help, grabbing the metal rod again and striking when he saw an opening. His blows were clumsy, but desperate strength pushed him on. The female fought like a storm, fast, fierce, unrelenting. But she was outnumbered, and Ethan could see it. The glow on her stomach flickered each time she strained, as though her strength was draining faster than theirs. He stepped forward, swinging at one of the aliens who tried to flank her. His rod connected with the creature's jaw and it stumbled back. Ethan's arms shook from the impact. The leader snarled, rage spilling into his voice. You fight for corruption, for abomination. When it is born, it will end us all. The female's golden eyes flared. She slashed at him, sparks flying, and shouted back, or it will save us. The words cracked through the chamber like lightning. Ethan froze. Save, destroy? He didn't understand, but the weight of it pressed on him like stone. This wasn't only about him or her. This was about something bigger, something far beyond either of them. The clash grew louder, sharper, but then suddenly the chamber's crystal pulsed bright. The markings on the floor lit up, glowing brighter than before. The hum grew into a deep vibration, rattling through the walls. The combatants stopped, glancing around. Even the leader hesitated, his blade lowering slightly. Ethan looked down. The lines beneath his feet glowed, pulsing in rhythm with the female's stomach. The crystal's light surged higher, casting their shadows tall against the walls. The female's voice dropped to a whisper. "It begins." Ethan turned to her, his skin prickling. "What begins?" Her golden eyes met his. Their life. Their power. As if in answer, the glow in her stomach brightened, filling the chamber with a strange blue light. The air grew heavy, almost electric. The other aliens stepped back, their eyes wide, their growls fading into uneasy silence. The leader's voice broke through, rough and afraid. This is not right." The female stood tall, shoulders squared, her voice steady. "No, this is destiny." Ethan's breath came fast. His mind spun with fear, confusion, and awe. For the first time, the enemy looked uncertain. And for the first time, Ethan realized that whatever was happening inside her, whatever was being born, was far more powerful than any of them understood. The chamber trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The crystal flared one last time, then went dark. In the silence that followed, every eye turned to the glowing light under her fur. The conflict was no longer just between them. It was between the future and the past, and Ethan stood caught in the middle. The chase. The chamber was silent for only a moment. Then the leader let out a roar, shaking the walls. The two other aliens echoed his cry, their voices a storm of rage. Ethan felt the sound inside his bones. His grip tightened on the metal rod he still held, though he knew it was no match for their blades. The female stepped in front of him, golden eyes fierce, her claws ready. But the leader didn't attack. He pointed his blade at her stomach, then at Ethan. His voice was cold, final. "They will hunt you both, until the abomination is gone." Then he turned, and with a sharp gesture, the aliens withdrew. Their growls faded as they disappeared into the dark corridors of the ship. Ethan's knees felt weak. He let out a long breath, realizing only then how hard he had been holding it. "Why did they leave?" he asked. The female's ears twitched. She didn't lower her guard. "They are not finished. They go to call the pack." Her words chilled him. "So, more are coming?" "Yes." She turned quickly, grabbing his arm. "We must move. Now." She pulled him out of the chamber and into the twisting halls of the ship. The blue lights flickered as though the ship itself sensed the danger. Ethan stumbled after her, his mind racing. They moved fast through narrow corridors. Strange whispers echoed in the metal walls. Sometimes Ethan thought he saw shapes moving just ahead, shadows darting away before his eyes could focus. His breath came short. "Where are we even going?" "To the outer decks," she said. "There are tunnels there. We can hide." "Hide? Against how many?" "A whole pack?" His voice cracked with panic. She glanced back at him, her eyes sharp. "You want to live, human? Then run." He didn't argue. They ran through a wide hall where the walls opened into windows of strange glass. Outside stretched the alien world, black forest beneath a sky burning red. Strange shapes moved among the trees, too far to see clearly. The sight only added to his fear. Suddenly a howl echoed through the ship. Low at first, then rising higher, louder until it shook the air. Another answered, then another. Ethan's blood ran cold. "They're hunting us." The female bared her teeth. "Yes, and they are close." They sprinted into another passage. The floor was broken here, panels ripped open to reveal wires glowing faintly. Ethan nearly tripped but forced himself to keep going. His lungs burned, but adrenaline pushed him on. Behind them, claws scraped against metal. Shadows flickered in the blue light. The hunters were coming fast, faster, the female growled. Ethan's legs screamed, but he pushed harder. The sound of claws grew louder, closer. A snarl rang out behind them. Ethan risked a glance back and saw three wolf-like figures racing through the corridor, eyes glowing, jaws open. "Go!" he shouted, though he was the one slowing. The female grabbed his arm, pulling him with strength that almost tore him off his feet. They turned a corner, the hunters close behind. Up ahead, the hall split into two. Without hesitation, the female pulled him left. The hunters followed. The corridor narrowed, the walls pressing close. Ethan's chest heaved. His legs felt like stone. The sound of claws scraping metal filled the air, too close, far too close. Then the passage ended, an open drop into darkness. The floor simply stopped, torn away in a jagged edge. Wind howled from below. Ethan stumbled to a stop, his stomach dropping. "It's a dead end." The hunter's growls echoed behind them. The female's golden eyes flashed. "Not dead, jump. What? Are you insane?" She didn't answer. She leapt. Ethan's heart lurched as he watched her vanish into the darkness below. For a split second he thought she had fallen to her death. Then he saw her land on a lower platform, crouched and steady. The hunters were almost on him. He had no time to think. Ethan ran forward and threw himself into the dark. The air rushed past him, cold and sharp. He hit the lower platform hard, pain shooting through his legs, but he stayed standing. Barely. The female caught his arm and yanked him upright. "Move!" They darted into another passage just as the hunters leapt down behind them. Snarling, the chase did not stop. They ran through twisting halls, over broken walkways, past doors that hissed open to reveal rooms glowing with strange alien symbols. The ship was a maze, but the hunters never lost them. Their howls echoed, their claws scraped, their fury never slowed. At one point, Ethan stumbled again, nearly falling. The female pulled him up, her breathing heavy but her strength unbroken. Her stomach glowed brighter now, the pulsing light casting eerie shadows on the walls. Ethan noticed it and gasped. "It's stronger." "Yes," she said, her voice sharp. "The growth is fast. Too fast." Her words chilled him even more than the hunters. The ship shook suddenly, a loud groan echoing through the metal. Somewhere deep within, something had broken. Dust rained from the ceiling. Ethan realized with horror that the ship itself might not last much longer. "We have to get out," he shouted. "We will," she growled. "If we live long enough." They turned another corner, and there, the passage ended at a wide metal door. The female pressed her hand against it, and the door hissed open to reveal the outer deck. Cold air hit Ethan's face. Beyond the deck lay the alien forest, black trees swaying under a burning red sky. Strange cries echoed from the shadows below, but there was no time to think. Behind them, the hunters burst into the hall, eyes glowing with rage. The female grabbed Ethan's arm. "The forest. It is our only chance." Ethan looked once at the trees, then back at the hunters. His chest burned with fear, but he nodded. Together, they leapt from the deck into the unknown darkness below, straight into the wild heart of the alien world. The revelation: the forest swallowed them whole. Ethan hit the ground hard, rolling across damp soil before struggling to his feet. The air outside was thick, heavy with the smell of earth and strange flowers that glowed faintly in the shadows. The trees rose tall, black against the burning red sky, their branches twisting like claws. The female landed beside him with grace, her fur bristling. She scanned the trees quickly, her ears twitching. "They will not stop," she said. "The hunt has only begun." Ethan staggered forward, his chest burning. "Then where do we go?" She didn't answer right away. Her golden eyes searched the darkness, then settled on a distant glow deeper in the forest. "There," she said. Without waiting, she moved, and Ethan followed, stumbling over roots and vines. Strange cries echoed in the distance, unlike anything he had ever heard. The forest itself seemed alive, whispering, shifting, watching them. Behind them, a howl rose. The hunters had followed. Ethan's stomach twisted. He forced his legs to move faster, fear giving him strength. The glowing light ahead grew brighter until finally they stepped into a clearing. At the center stood a stone structure, old and crumbling, half swallowed by vines. Strange carvings marked its walls, spirals, claws, and eyes that seemed to follow Ethan as he moved. "What is this?" he asked, his voice shaking. The female touched the stone gently, almost with reverence. "A temple, older than my people, older than yours. Here lies the truth." "The truth?" Ethan echoed. "About what?" She didn't reply. Instead, she pushed open a cracked stone door and the two of them stepped inside. The air inside the temple was cool, heavy with dust. The walls glowed faintly, not from any light source Ethan could see, but from the carvings themselves. They shimmered as if alive. In the center of the chamber stood a pool of still water. The female knelt beside it, touching its surface with her claws. The water rippled and images rose from it, ghostly visions alive like memories. Ethan's eyes widened. He saw humans. Not modern humans like him, but ancient, dressed in skins and holding spears. They stood face to face with tall wolf-like figures, her kind but older, wilder. And between them stood children, hybrids, half human, half wolf. Ethan's breath caught. "That's impossible." The female's voice was quiet. Not impossible, forgotten. The vision shifted. Ethan saw battles. Humans and wolves fighting side by side against monstrous creatures that crawled from the shadows of the earth. He saw them win, saw the hybrids lead, strong and brilliant, until peace came again. Then the images darkened. The hybrids grew too powerful. Some turned against both sides. The alliance broke. Blood was spilled. And in the end, the hybrids vanished, erased from both memory and story. The water stilled. Ethan stumbled back, shaking his head. No, that can't be real. If that happened, we would know. We would have records, history. Your people forgot, she said simply. Mine buried the truth. Only the temples remain. We were told to wait, until the bond returned. Her golden eyes met his. Now it has. Ethan's heart pounded. He wanted to deny it, but the visions burned in his mind. Ancient humans. Ancient wolves. Hybrids born of both. The idea seemed insane. And yet hadn't he already seen proof? The glowing light in her stomach. The bond that made no sense but somehow existed. He swallowed hard. So what you're saying is, this has happened before. She nodded slowly. And it will happen again. With us. Ethan turned away, running a hand through his hair. His mind spun, trying to grasp it. If the hybrids had once existed, if they had once saved and destroyed both species, what would happen this time? The female touched her stomach again. The glow there pulsed brighter, reflecting in the water. They are not just children. They are future. Stronger than me. Stronger than you. Stronger than both. Her words chilled him. Or dangerous, he whispered. Yes, she admitted. They can save or destroy. The silence that followed was heavy. Ethan stared at the glowing water, his chest tight. He thought of Earth, of his people, of what it would mean if hybrids truly came again. Would they welcome them? Or fear them like her pack did? His thoughts broke when another howl split the night. This one was closer, much closer. The female's ears flicked. She rose to her feet, claws ready. They have found us. Ethan's stomach dropped. We can't fight them all. No. She looked around the chamber, her eyes sharp. But the temple will protect us, for now. She pressed her hand to the carvings on the wall. The lines glowed brighter, spreading like fire across the stone. A low hum filled the chamber, deep and ancient. The stone door slammed shut, sealing them inside. The howls outside grew louder, claws scraping against stone. The hunters had reached the clearing. Ethan backed away from the door, his chest heaving. The sound of growls and pounding claws filled the air, but the temple walls held firm. The female stood tall, her voice steady, even as shadows flickered through the cracks in the stone. This is only the beginning, human. The revelation is clear. Our bond is not chance. It is destiny. Ethan looked at her, then at the glowing pool, then at the door shaking under the force of the hunters outside. His fear mixed with something else now, something heavier. Responsibility. He was no longer just running for his life. He was running for something far greater. The hybrids weren't just a mistake. They were history repeating, and this time the world might not survive it. The birth. The temple walls trembled. Outside, claws scraped against the stone and howls rose like a storm. The hunters were gathered in full, their fury pounding against the ancient sanctuary. Ethan stood frozen, his hands clenched into fists. Every blow against the door felt like a countdown. They're going to break through, he said, his voice rough. The female stood in the center of the chamber, her body tense, her fur bristling. The glow in her stomach had grown stronger, spilling bright blue light across the walls. Her breathing was ragged, uneven. They come too late, she said. It begins now. Ethan turned to her, his fear shifting to alarm. What begins? Her eyes met his, sharp, fierce, but full of pain. The birth. Ethan's chest tightened. He took a step toward her. Now, here? That's not possible. You need... Her body doubled forward with a low growl. The glow under her fur pulsed violently. She dropped to her knees, her claws digging into the stone floor. Sweat dampened her fur. Ethan rushed to her side, panic flooding him. What do I do? Tell me what to do. She bared her teeth, half in pain, half in determination. Protect them. Outside, the hunters' growls grew louder. The temple door shook under their claws. Ethan looked at the stone walls, then back at her. Protect them? He could barely protect himself. Another contraction hit and her body shook. The glow spread across the chamber, crawling up the walls, making the carvings burn brighter. The hum of the temple deepened, vibrating through Ethan's bones. The hunters howled again. This time the sound carried fear. They could sense what was happening inside. Ethan knelt beside her, his hands shaking. It's too soon, he muttered. Too fast. Her golden eyes locked onto his, blazing even through the pain. There is no too soon. This is destiny. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. Destiny or not, they'll kill us the moment those doors fall. Another wave of pain struck her, and her cry echoed through the chamber, half roar, half scream. The glowing pool in the center of the temple rippled violently as if answering her voice. The carvings on the walls shifted, forming shapes Ethan had never seen, hybrids glowing with power. Ethan's mind spun. The temple wasn't just a place of memory. It was connected to them, to the birth itself. The female leaned forward, her body trembling, the glow from her stomach now blinding. They come, she whispered. The door cracked. Stone splintered. A claw forced its way through, scraping at the light. Ethan grabbed the metal rod he still carried, planting himself between her and the door. His heart hammered in his chest, but he raised it anyway. If they came through, he would fight. For her. For them. The hunters roared, pushing harder. Stone shattered, dust falling from the ceiling. The door wouldn't last. Then, in a burst of light, the chamber filled with energy. Ethan shielded his eyes, the glow searing. The female arched her back, her cry rising above the noise of the hunters. The light poured from her, filling every corner of the temple. Ethan gasped. From the light, small forms emerged. Not human, not wolf. Something in between. Their bodies shimmered with faint fur, their eyes glowing brighter than stars. They were pups, but more strange, radiant, powerful. The hunters outside fell silent. Their growls turned to uneasy whines. Even through the broken door, fear filled the air. The female collapsed back against the stone, her body trembling, but her eyes alive. She looked at the newborns, then at Ethan. They live. Ethan's chest heaved, his mind unable to process what he was seeing. He stepped closer, staring at the glowing pups. They blinked up at him, their tiny bodies pulsing with energy. As if the whole temple beat with their hearts. One of them let out a sound, not a cry. Not a howl, but something strange, melodic, almost like a voice. The carvings on the walls flared in answer. The hunters outside wailed in fear. Claws scraped against stone as they retreated into the forest. The door, though broken, was no longer under attack. Ethan lowered the metal rod, his arms weak. His whole body shook. They had not fought the hunters away. The birth itself had. The female's golden eyes softened as she looked at him. Do you see now? This is why you were chosen. Ethan shook his head slowly, still stunned. Chosen? I never asked for this. No, she said, her voice low but steady. But destiny rarely asks. The pups shifted, glowing brighter, their eyes sharp and intelligent even in their first moments. They were small, fragile in form, but there was something undeniable in them. Something powerful, ancient, terrifying. Ethan felt his chest tighten. They weren't just children. They were symbols, weapons, leaders, maybe even gods. The female leaned back, exhaustion washing over her. Her voice softened, almost tender. Protect them, human. For if they live, they will shape what comes. Ethan looked at the glowing pups again. Awe and dread warred inside him. The world outside the temple was already afraid. And he could not blame them, because as he looked at the strange, radiant creatures before him, one thought burned in his mind. The galaxy had just changed forever. The aftermath. The temple was silent now, except for the faint hum of the glowing pups. Dust drifted in the air and the broken door swung gently on its hinges. Outside, the forest was still, as if it too were holding its breath. Ethan sank to the floor, leaning against the stone wall. His arms ached, his muscles stiff with tension. His eyes kept drifting to the small, glowing figures clustered around the female. The pups were calm now, huddled together, their light dimmed but steady. They were alive. More than that, they were perfect. Strange, beautiful, and terrifyingly powerful. The female moved slowly, her body weak but her mind alert. She watched the pups with careful attention, her golden eyes softening with every tiny movement they made. They survived, she said, her voice hoarse but filled with pride. Ethan nodded, unable to speak. Every part of him was still trembling. He had fought, but it hadn't been enough. It had been them, the newborns, who had pushed the hunters back with a force he could barely comprehend. They sensed danger, she explained, noticing his gaze. Even in the womb, they knew what was coming. That is why they came into the world like this. Ethan's mind raced. They're more than pups. They're something else, aliens, humans, and something in between. I don't even know what to call them. The female smiled faintly. Call them what you want. But remember this, they will change everything. Outside, the sounds of the forest slowly returned. Birds began to chirp and the wind rustled through the trees. The hunters had fled, leaving behind only their claw marks and shattered stones. Ethan glanced toward the broken door, imagining them regrouping, plotting, wondering if they could ever return. But he knew deep down, they would not. Not against these creatures. Ethan's eyes returned to the pups. One of them crawled forward, its tiny glow illuminating the temple floor. It reached toward him with a small paw, and he instinctively extended his hand. Their eyes met, intelligent, curious, fearless. He felt a strange warmth, almost like a connection. He didn't know what it meant yet, but he knew it mattered. The female leaned back, her breathing still heavy. "They will need guidance," she said. You must teach them. Protect them. They are yours now as much as mine." Ethan swallowed hard.
"Mine?" His voice cracked.
"How am I supposed to do that?" "I don't know anything about them. You will learn," she replied. "As they grow, so will you. But understand this, never let fear guide your actions. They are strong, but they are also fragile. They are the bridge between worlds. And if you fail, the universe may pay the price." Ethan felt the weight of her words pressing down on him. He had never imagined a life like this. Responsibility for creatures that were more than human, more than alien, born of a world he barely understood. But when he looked at their small, glowing faces, he felt something stir inside him, a spark of courage, a flicker of hope. One of the pups climbed onto the female's back, nuzzling against her neck. Another rolled onto its side, eyes half closed, its light pulsing gently. Ethan crouched closer, studying them. Every movement, every blink seemed filled with purpose. They weren't just alive, they were aware. "I need to name them," Ethan whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Names felt important. They were the first words he could give them, a way to mark their place in this world. The female shook her head slightly, a small laugh escaping her lips. "Names are not needed yet. They will choose their own when the time is right. For now, simply be with them, learn them, protect them." "That is enough," Ethan nodded slowly. He let himself sink to the floor beside the glowing creatures. He reached out and a tiny paw touched his hand. The warmth that spread through him was not just physical, it was emotional, instinctive. They trusted him. That was enough for now. Hours passed in silence. Outside, the sun began to rise, spilling light through the broken door and across the temple floor. The pups stirred, exploring their surroundings, their glow fading with the daylight but still present in the corners of the room. Ethan watched them, feeling the enormity of what had happened. They had been born into chaos, but they had survived. They had been brought into a world that did not understand them, yet somehow they had already begun to shape it. The female rose slowly, her strength returning with the quiet light of the new day. She looked at Ethan, her expression solemn but proud. "The world will try to take them from you. It always does. But remember this, love them, guide them, and they will guide you in return." Ethan nodded, the words settling deep inside him. For the first time, he felt ready. Not fully, not completely, but ready enough. Ready to face whatever came next. He looked at the glowing pups, their small forms huddled together, breathing steadily. A new chapter had begun. Not just for him, not just for them, but for the universe itself. And somewhere deep in his chest, Ethan felt a spark of hope, bright and steady. Growing with every heartbeat, the adventure was far from over. But for the first time, he knew one thing for certain. They had survived. And survival was only the beginning.